entertaining ourselves with
Cool.
puns.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Sound check. Sound check. Can you hear me? I did this without checking the. I changed the mic. If I don't crash it. No? Okay. How about now? They can't hear me.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
How about now? All right.
Oh, good.
Air puns.
Awesome. No ads.
Ad free.
Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for your patience. Back to school night went a little late. So, better than canceling because we weren't on last week. So, awesome. Woohoo! All right. Let me just go do this. Let me do this. Let me hit this. Copy. Just hit the live out to get the shout out there. And we will go. Boom. Ah. All right. Fire and Ice. Greyhawk movie night. When's that? Saturday? Oh, that's cool.
Airhawk. That's awesome.
Airhawk. All right. So, we're live, I think. Hello, everyone. Yeah. I made it. So, boy, oh boy, what a day. And I gotta drive to Scranton, PA tomorrow. And back. Oh, my God. It's going to be a long day, but that's okay. That's part of life. So, I got Anna and Mike with me. And this To the Air and Greyhawk was a joint... was a joint idea by Extort and a drunk Patrick, which was really funny.
Great. I wanted to do this forever, so thank you so much for coming up with this.
Oh, really?
Had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, this has been one of my dream episodes. I've been waiting for it, but
that's
I was
cool.
Writing on, so now I had to sit down and write a quick blog post and kind of post my ideas around this.
Yeah, so they asked for a topic, and I gotta read Anna's mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You really, I failed to save on your mind read
Patrick.
there. So.
Yeah,
awesome.
BB, let me do that. So give me a second here. I do have everything up here, and I haven't crashed the stream yet because I rushed it. I even had a chance to get changed here real quick. But let me throw this out. Our classic D&D preprint giveaways tonight. We'll do at least one. Boom. That should have started it. And then recent events. I know we got a couple things. So I appreciate everyone's patience tonight. It was it's a lot of real life stuff going on, but we don't want to cancel.
Some were more patient than others.
Yeah, well, of course. Gary and Rich are not impatient at all, but we gotta live with that. So, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. So it's good to see everyone. Thank you for hanging out. Got some followers coming in. All right. So I have barely prepped for this because I've been driving like crazy all week long, but air combat was always, and this is not what the discussion's about all the way, but air combat scares me. Just let me rephrase that. having at low level or lower levels characters that can fly and characters that can do combat in the air, that kind of scares me because it throws a paradigm out completely outside of the game. So I'm not very good at it, and it's gotten better. But and I know you like, and Mike, you probably will both like this topic. So give us your initial thoughts on where you want this topic to go tonight.
I just want to say first, in fantasy, I think it's a topic that deserves much more thought, and also they tend to either ignore it or look at it from some sort of game mechanics perspective only, or drummed up with some engineering and stuff. And it doesn't really. You need to. I want to get the feel of aerial combat and combine with the fun and drama of fantasy, and then a little bit of realistic aerodynamics and stuff mixed in, just a little bit, not much, but a little bit, just to get that touch to it, so to speak. That I think is interesting, but it is something that's been, but I think it has to do with the wargaming roots of D&D. It was like counters on a tabletop. And tabletops don't come in 3 dimensions more than the buildings and stuff. And also the scale of things is wrong for aerial combat. Aerial combat needs space, and we normally don't have that. Whether we play in VTT, actually theater of the mind is where aerial combat is best.
Well, I'll say this: Casey got me those clear level things.
Yep.
He brought me those, what are they called? Dungeon tiers or whatever. Whatever they are, they're really good. So we get some use out of them occasionally, which is cool. And the 3D nature of it is difficult on tabletop. It can be. It can be. But like with miniatures and all, higher elevations isn't a problem. And with those... you just don't mass combat. It would be a disaster. I just couldn't do it. But like a dragon or a couple like creatures that are scrolling through here, which I'm gonna limit my talk to that. A lot of the things I like to use. Yeah. So that's
great.
Yeah.
We have some critters and stuff. Oh, Mike, sorry. Yeah, please.
Oh, I'm not a fan of aerial stuff either. I would liken my experience with it to superhero comics.
Right.
So,
which means you don't like it.
I try to prolong it as much as possible.
So I'm gonna equate this to something else that is similar but not, and Troy will understand this. There's an uncomfortable feeling about ship-to-ship combat, right, in D&D, just as much as there is in aerial combat. Turning rates of ships, all that. What a fireball does to the sails. I mean, it's a lot. Like, what does a fireball do to a feathered creature flying around during aerial combat? And so that's some of the stuff that, I can understand where there's some things about it. But I can see with this. Let's just we'll brainstorm on this discussion.
Random stuff.
Yeah, random stuff like. Everyone knows about dragons, right? Dragons being flying, but like, I have my favorites, and I posted some of them up on. And look, I don't have anything at all up here, so I'm very limited here. Let me just throw one of these out right away. So, like the Chimera, I love Chimeras. Am I saying that right?
That's fine.
Chimera.
Chimera, Chimera. I mean, everyone said it a different way. So, but one of my favorite flying creatures, I got a big 3, I think, and these are like the mid to high level range, and the Chimera, Chimera is one of them.
Can you explain to me what the goat head is there for?
I think it's there to ram, right? To go in and do a ramming attack.
Okay.
But I don't have it.
I fought one of them just last Thursday.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Chimera.
Yep. Okay.
Chimera, Chimera.
In my experience with chimeras, unfortunately, they've always been in dungeons, and they never get a chance to fly. I don't associate that with a flying creature.
Yeah.
Really?
He clearly has wings.
Yeah. And to me, it doesn't look like a flying creature in how it's built or anything like that. It looks like one of these kind of put together things from ancient Greek mythology, where it comes from. But
Cardman, you're right. There again, Manticores is a good one, but too often I see in D&D their wings are clipped.
Right.
They're
'Cause everyone's
underground. And
afraid
they
of
don't
it.
have any room to move.
Yeah.
That's the second one. That's the second, and I didn't have the picture. I didn't put the picture up for the Manticore, right?
Yeah.
I love the Manticore, and the
Yeah.
third one is a little weird. And it's a weird one. Is the Dragon? I love this
Ooh,
creature.
that's an interesting
I
one.
love this
Yeah.
thing, and I saw a couple people on my posts. They said, "Oh, I can't stand. I think the thing's so stupid. I think it's hysterical. Has that awful scream, and it doesn't breathe like a dragon or anything like that. So it's kind of a cool, neat thing to have flying around there.
But I like
Dragon?
these things that are
Dragon.
almost dragon on the way to be
they can
dragon or
barely fly.
dragon-esque. I
Yeah.
love a lot of these. Like I even put the basilisk in that family, so to speak. These
Yeah.
kind of reptilian offshoots or half-wits or whatever. That wyvern is one of the closest to the true dragons. So I like that. That to me sounds like fantasy evolution in action, so to speak.
Yep, the Dragon.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a weird cross between a brass dragon and a lion.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
look at that breeding. Yeah, so it's a really cool one too. Just some of the ones that I equate to monsters, as just to start right off the bat, they're monster combat in that range, and you'll see me throw them out there in that range from 5th, 6th, 7th. Those creatures. But Manticores are really good too.
The Dragon was one of the old D&D toy line
Yep,
creatures.
you're absolutely
too.
correct.
I had one of those. I don't know what happened to it.
It was in a blister, right? So, it was in one of those blister packs along with all the other miniatures, like what's his name, Warduke and stuff, right? All those original miniatures.
The original.
It came out of.
They were like action
yeah.
figure size stuff.
Yeah. So,
Bullets?
so Mike, direction on this. What would you like to talk about in the air, to the air?
Let's keep it with creatures.
Okay.
All right. In my note taking, I found interesting. I refreshed my memory. The city of Greyhawk have the Greyhawk Mountaineers. The Greyhawk Mountaineers ride griffins, and then just across the bay from them, in the pirate town of Elrid, is Dragonel riders.
Boom.
And I feel like that's I missed that opportunity there. That you could have this rivalry, good versus bad aerial combat, and it's right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a small area.
The Dragonel riders for the slavers. Kale and Lekos. And the Dragonel is a one that I do not know if there's a picture that exists of a Dragonel.
I guess it's just like a wyvern.
No. It is actually it looks like a miniature red dragon that doesn't breathe. That's what it looks like. And they are.
So it's like a dragon net.
Yeah.
Almost.
Uh-huh.
It's a dragon that is dumb enough to take a rider. Yeah.
Yes. Well, anyhow, in Slavers though, the Dragonels are fun. It says here that they are equipped. They not only do they have riders with their own weapons, lances, and God knows what, but they're also equipped to drop nets full of rocks. Pots of burning oil. I don't know how they manage that, or grapple lines.
Absolutely,
they're
trained, and it's another one of those things that it appears in 2nd edition. It doesn't have any place in 1st edition, and it appears, and it may. Oh, Wayne, thank you. It appears in that edition in Slavers. And I think it's in the Monstrous Sheets. What's that? Monstrous Arcana?
Compendium.
Monstrous Compendium. It's in there somewhere. I don't know if there's a picture, though. So it's one of those. I don't think we have any pictures at all of a Dragonel. If we do, and I missed it, sorry about that. Like I said, I've been on the road all week. But thanks, everyone. Thank you for the support and the understanding of us being a little late due to my...
Has any of you guys ever used Griffin Riders or the Dragonels?
Yeah, I've used them many times. Yeah.
Stormkeep and the Mountaineer Militia from the Ashes box set has the Griffin Riders a base there.
That's it.
Yeah, and we use it all the time going to Karastein's Castle, which has a bunch of aerial mounts too. It's the only way to get there. to carry. You know, as
right.
long as the living Greyhawk carrier doesn't destroy it. So, which they end up doing. So, hippogriffs. So that's a good direction. The mounts, and I always Dragonels were described as a cross between a dragon and a pterodon. Okay, that's cool. Sam, yeah.
All right.
They probably
so
describe it a little bit more
broadening.
after the slavers reference.
Aha, Sam.
Yeah.
He says it is like a wyvern. Huh?
Mostly it looks mostly like a wyvern with a stinger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Chinese. Yikes.
So,
Forgot about that.
Art Arcana actually categorizes the power of the flying mount. And I think the order, if I'm wrong, correct me, goes, and this is because of Cavaliers, goes Hippogriff first. I want to say Pegasus is before Griffin. Am I correct on that? Is the way I remember it? Pegasus, then Griffin?
I don't
think
remember any of that.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what power you're talking about. Some of them are more intelligent, might even have magic and stuff.
Thank you,
Others
Dark
are
Elf.
more physically powerful. They might be better flyers and have claws and more physical, like close-up combat, so to speak. And others are smarter and have magical abilities and so on. So there are many different ways to rate it, so to speak. And even more so in aerial combat, maneuverability and speed becomes even more factors than on the ground in some ways.
And then absolutely, and then from there you can go to exotic mounts, which would include dragons and other things. And once again, there's the power creep issue there. Check MC5 Greyhawk Appendix for the first depiction. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I didn't know if it was in there or not. It probably isn't. I missed it. But when I saw them mentioned in Slavers, I was like, wow, these are cool. I don't remember seeing them anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
Never.
yeah. Pegasus, then Hippogriffs, then Griffins. I think it's Hippogriffs, Pegasus, then Griffins. If you look at Cavaliers and the capability of when they can take a flying mount, I could be wrong on that too. Pegasus are quite intelligent, but I think Griffins were ranked higher because they were a little more powerful. I don't know.
Well, speaking of Pegasi, I can only find one reference to a Pegasus in Greyhawk.
Okay, what is it? That's great.
And surprisingly, it's in Castle Heart.
Oh, cool.
The paladin, I guess, who runs the castle, he has a Pegasus paladin warhorse thing, whatever that you can summon.
That is awesome.
I forgot what the name of it is.
I don't have that to bring up real quick, Mike. Or
Guild Star. Guild Star is the name of the
Pegasus.
That's the only named Pegasus I could find in reference. And Amy says I'm correct.
That is awesome. That's a great find. You just does anyone else know of a Pegasus? A rock? Rocks are huge.
Rocks.
Yep. The biggest natural birds in some ways, or unnatural, but birds. Yeah. Giant. That's a true giant eagle. Yeah.
So rocks are for storm giant. Yeah, rocks are too big. Nothing Bastion of Faith. I expect there to be some superior. I don't think so. I think it's all very medieval on that, David. Now, here's one that actually has a picture. All right, and I'm going to scroll through and find it for you all. And I bet you I'm going in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong place.
Well, I think in Greyhawk fame, we have one of the best aerial mount pictures in fantasy illustration.
What's that?
Bar none, on the Greyhawk Adventures.
Oh.
That is the best aerial mount illustration I've ever seen. Ever, anywhere.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. And when I saw that, it was something that appealed to me that really looks cool, believable in a way.
And that's a Caldwell, right?
I think it's an Easley, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it's Easley. You're right. It's an Easley.
Yeah, I think it's an Easley, but I might be wrong on that one.
That's definitely a Griffin. What do you think?
So, but I think so too. Yeah, and it's kind of cool because it is there you have it. It's to me it looks
Yeah.
cool, action-like, and it looks kind of believable. It doesn't look like a silly illustration from antiquity of something someone dreamed up 4,000 years ago without even no one was back or forward on a bird, so to speak. It has a little bit. Of course, it doesn't look like it could fly for real in real life, but it looks like a bull with an eagle's head and wings, but it still looks cool. So yeah.
What is this?
That's a lamasu or whatever what they're called.
No, that's a griffin, I think. I think
you
that's a
think it-
griffin
okay.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a griffin.
Yeah, but that goes into my book of more ridiculous pictures, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's a griffin too.
Yeah.
Quattle or ring snakes are not really shaped for a mountain. Now, quattle, yeah, griffin is a different shape. I am at a loss here because.
But I want to. There is something I want to. We should do first before we get into. And we should. So in my opinion, we should. What kind of the categories of fantasy flight? To me, in my opinion, in my way of looking at it, now I'm looking at it a little bit more from a rules mechanics perspective, and that is like there are three types of flying creatures, so to speak, that flies in three different ways that you can look at and treat very differently. The first one are what I would call the natural flyers, the ones that have wings and stuff like that, from insects to dragons and stuff. They power themselves using wings in like birds or flying lizards or flying fish or whatever. They fly in what I would call a natural powered way, or they can be gliders too, only and not be able to power themselves. And then the second type of flying is magical flying, like the beholder that just glides through the air and stuff like that. Things that are not meant to fly, but they can fly thanks to magical powers of a god or just magic in some form, so to speak. And
Like
then we have a third
Superman.
category that are not really flyers at all, but I think they deserve to be mentioned here. And those are the gaseous form creatures, like a vampire that turns into gaseous form and just drifts away in the air,
right?
Because they are.
Physics.
Exactly, because they are flying at least in a rules mechanic sense. They're not aerodynamic flyers or anything, but they are still in the air and get affected by things like weather and spells cast in the air and stuff. From a mechanic and encounter perspective, you have to treat them as flying creatures too, because they're not walking on the ground or affected by gravity in the same way as stuff. So these three, you need to, if you start thinking about how to handle them in encounters and stuff, you need to hand them in different ways, so to speak. The first one, it's fairly straightforward. You just have to think about them like birds or insects or something from the real world, and then adjust a little bit, give some fantasy license to things like dragons, giant birds, and hippogriffs that are way too heavy to fly in if it were for real and stuff. So you have to give some fantasy license to it to make the game fun and fantastic. And then you have the second type of flying that you can go off on a limb a bit, so to speak. You can make them function differently, and they not all, meaning a will-o'-the-wisp could fly in a completely different way than a beholder does, for instance. A beholder might be a clumsy, moving very slow, weighing a lot because it's armored and heavy and stuff. And a will-o'-the-wisp is just like a little photon going around that can do almost anything. You can, if you want to, meaning you can give them characteristics, individual characteristic that varies wildly, so to speak, the magic flyer, to make encounters fun and interesting and stuff. And then you have the third kind that a lot of times you just treat them as a get away from jail free card, meaning, I've become gaseous, nothing you can do, I'm just out of here. It's like teleport in a different form. But there's a lot of cool stuff you can do to get to creatures that are gaseous, but we get to that later, so to speak. But I think that's important when you look at it from building encounters, using them as NPCs and monsters and stuff to look
think about beholders.
Yeah. Exactly. Beholders, even demi-liches fly that way. The skulls that fly up, meaning there are tons of creatures that do magical aerial
these
stunts.
are things you run into in dungeons and Underdark, and so you don't think of that as an aerial environment.
True.
But it is, yeah. And for a creature that is tiny, you don't need much more than a porta potty, and you can do aerial combat. If you have more than 4 squares, you can do aerial combat, so to speak, even if you're tiny. Yeah.
I have a challenge.
Yeah.
to the audience, not counting a dragon mount. I think I found the individual with the nastiest mount that's not a dragon. That's what I was looking for, and I'm like, it's not Tharaston. His name, Antarctic Giant Bane. I knew he was here somewhere, and there it is. His Hyriko Sphinx mount.
Oh,
Yeah,
what's
and
that in?
Baltron speaking.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah, pretty nasty. Yeah, I remember. When you were talking about the Griffin Riders, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that. Completely forgot about this. So, Gem of the Flatlanders cover Griffin. Yes, it's Griffin. Just a front angled look of a Griffin, I'd say. Absolutely. So there you go. Yep. Haruka. That's probably that. I was like, oh my gosh, when I first saw this, I was like, wow, that's a nasty mount. So, and that's absolutely flying. And so you can have some flying combat in this adventure. And you should probably with that mount. So he also has a Bloodhawk pet, which is kind of cool for a pet too. So, okay. But if someone can, D1 Hierarcho Sphinx is in D1, but that's
Why?
underground.
Why?
In the depths, yeah, descent into the depths of the really Cardman. I agree 100%. It's just like not doing a lot of flying down there. That's weird.
Small creatures do, meaning caves and the underground is perfect
bats.
for things like bats and insects
Gargoyles.
and various various types of flyers that way. And there is one benefit of flying indoors. Weather is usually less prevalent. Winds and stuff like that is usually less. So small flyers and slow flyers especially kind of likes it indoors. Yeah.
True, Troy, but normally the caverns aren't that large that a dragon's going to be flying around in a cavern, right? It's really tough.
Well, you can even start seeing things like the Rift Canyon.
Yeah,
we're
talking about Underdark or in a dungeon.
But if you look at the ones that you can have caverns that are 5 miles across and 2 miles high, so to speak. So you can create indoor environments that are huge that are like an outdoor environment, but are technically indoors. So you can, there's a lot of fluidity in a fantasy world. You can do a lot of like the Moria and the chasm when they go across the bridge and stuff in Tolkien and stuff. These are giant places where you can definitely see, and there might be smaller dragon species that are specialized in hunting in underground, and just like you have in the real world, like woodpeckers and goshawks and other forms of hawks, they are specialist flyers in dense forests. That's why they have the woodpeckers have their flying style. They fold their wings most of their flight and just power themselves occasionally, and then you have hawks that are specialized, and there's even an eagle in South America that hunts monkeys, its main prey, and it hunts by flying through trees and stuff, and it's an eagle, and it can maneuver with just the wingtips, and the wings are folded, and it dives through the trees. I could definitely see a dragon doing the same thing in an underground environment, so to speak, and hunt things. And that will be scary as hell if you're sitting on a ledge or something and it just flies past and nabs you in a heartbeat, so to speak.
You banned them, Mike?
Yeah,
because at the time I didn't want someone starting with.
Hey, Celestian, it can't be too big to ride it. Yeah, the ebony fly. You're right, man. That's a bizarre one and a good flying thing.
Yeah.
Ebony
I can imagine a nasty little devil or impish size thing that has a stinger with a venom and flies as a hummingbird and stings you with it with a deadly venom or something. Yeah, that a really good aerial that flies like a hummingbird and is maybe like a foot long or something like that. That is really good. Yeah, those are, and then you make them 10 at a time or something, and hunting small swarms, that will be deadly.
You're always swarming stuff, Anna. You notice
that? It's a lot of that, but hummingbirds are territorial more than anything. But that's because they live off flowers. If they were hunt predators, they will probably gang up in order to safety in numbers in that sense.
Yeah, I think the lowest level nastiest thing a lot of people brought up is a sturge.
Yeah.
Because they're just that they usually attack in swarms, and
I think that's a great fantasy monster that makes a lot of sense.
and their attack is 4 hit die monsters, and that is really nasty for a first level
Yep.
character.
Yep.
Absolutely. Harpies, another one. Harpies, another one. Perytons. I put Perytons and Harpies together for some reason.
Yeah, but harpies are interesting in that sense. They're good predators, but I don't think they're good area flyers, because they don't have to be, because they don't use flying in their hunting ability. Meaning harpies use other means than flying to seduce their victims and stuff. So they probably just use flying as a way of escaping if things go bad, rather than as a way of getting to the prey, so to speak. So that's why I think they are not particularly good flyers. They don't have to be.
Is there so many winged creatures in mythology? Was ancient man like always looking up, afraid of?
I think they were like
fantastic.
I think it was a way of making them fantastic, to stand out from ordinary people that couldn't fly, because I think humans have always wanted to fly since they saw birds and insects and stuff. I think that's been a desire. I'm not the only human being who wanted to fly. So I think that's why fantasy is full of winged creatures, because it's been human desire and so on for since antiquity.
What is that flying vampire head in Fiend Folio? That's a Vargoyle. And that is a summoned creature from the plane of Tartarus.
Yep.
One of the nastiest creatures in first edition, because hit point damage done by it is permanent. It cannot be healed. Ever.
Not even restored?
Look it up. It's disgusting.
That is cool. That is.
I don't allow. Yeah, I keep them out of the game now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but you make them that they have a hard time hitting, but when they do like 1 point at each time, and it becomes like a permanent
I think it's 1
reduction.
to 4. Yeah, it's disgusting.
So you make them a nuisance that is really terrible. That sense,
that's a disgusting creature.
But when we talk about winged creatures like demons and devils and all sorts of, and remember in Tolkien where Gandalf fights the Balrog and he falls down and he has wings, but he doesn't seem to flap them or do anything with it. Yeah, that's my take on it. A lot of these creatures that are fantasy, meaning a Balor or a pit fiend or something, they could fly in the abyss or hell or something like that, where you have different physics. But I don't have them. A lot of these creatures can't fly on the prime material plane, because there you have more normal physics and aerodynamics and stuff. So a lot of so a lot of these creatures, they fly really well on their home planes, but not in normal gravity and physics and air and all that, so to speak. So then they might be at best flying around like chicken. They can jump off a ledge and glide down, but don't have enough powers, and the wings aren't big enough for them to carry them aloft in normal atmosphere and stuff.
So let's discuss flying races that are playable.
Yeah.
Because I know that'll drive Mike crazy because he doesn't like it.
No, but that's good, because that puts flying on its edge, so to speak.
Right.
Because it can disrupt the campaigns or gameplay more than NPCs and monsters.
Are the Aarakocra a playable race in D&D 5e?
I think they are. Yeah, somewhere I think they are. Yeah.
Penanguen don't fly; they levitate. Penanguen fly like vampires. Right, they fly.
They have small wings, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm curious on it. Yes. Okay. Fuzz says that they are. Are they Fiend Folio or Monster Manual 2? They're Fiend Folio, correct? So that's a starting point. There is that. How I want to ask, how do you anyone who uses flying creatures in your game, and how does it affect your Greyhawk game? I'm just curious.
I have used it, but I have severe limitations that I think are natural for flying creatures. First of all, encumbrance is your friend if you want to have it, meaning you can only carry at best half of what a normal creature can do and get up in the air. Maybe I would go down as a quarter as much as a normal human or normal similar sized strong creature can do and take through the air, so to speak. And so if you use half, you'll be severely encumbered, and you can probably not go up. You can just go off a ledge or stay level. And if you have more than a quarter of the weight a normal creature would do. So that would meaning no heavy weapons, no armor and stuff like that. No big backpack. You can't carry a ton of stuff. That I think it should, to me, it's kind of one of the basic adjustments to do.
You have to be careful about allowing pairs to fly everywhere they go. That's what I figured, Amy. So
here's my thought on that, though.
Yeah, please, Mike.
While you're being careful limiting your players on flying, next thing you know, they have the teleport spell. So
Dimension door.
Once they have teleport, flying don't sound so bad.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with them going places flying, because we also have to think about distance and stuff, meaning Aarakocras, are they adept flyers, meaning how far can they fly? Meaning you can have, meaning even
36-inch movement rate.
Yeah, but that's short term, so to speak. But look at the flying world, meaning you have birds like hummingbirds, they can fly maybe 45 seconds at a time, then they have to sit down and rest for a little bit, then they can fly again. And then you have albatrosses that can fly for 5 years before they land. And so there you have one stamina, meaning how many is Aarakocra something? Can they fly for a minute, an hour, a day? Or something? Can they be up and flying like 5 minutes and then they have to go down and take a breather again before they fly? That is a lot of limiting factor. And then you have, if creatures like Aarakocra can fly, that means that whoever would be their enemies will take that into account, meaning castles will have protections from stuff like that. People will be ready to fight things like that. They will be other aerial enemies that can also fly. And so it's just a matter of
it's an escalation thing for me. So if you have a winged person in your group, I have to start bringing flyers after you.
Yeah.
And then there's also the balance thing. If you're playing I'm very familiar with this in Rich's campaign. If we're doing an underwater campaign and one of us naturally breathes water, let's say I'm playing a sea elf, well, everyone's got to be able to breathe underwater. So if you have a flying character, then it almost becomes like a balancing where everyone's got to have some mode of flying.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of
and the other big thing that you have to look into and start thinking, do you want things like weather and wind to affect flying creatures or not, so to speak? If not, then you give flying creatures an enormous gift that you shouldn't give them, I think.
Speaking of wind effects, that's a good segue whenever you're ready.
So I made a table and started crunching the numbers on that, how much that is, because if you calculate real wind speeds in squares per round or feet per round, you start getting some really interesting numbers.
Well, I'm just going to go by the glossography area. It's and I haven't looked at this in years. All right, so wind speed 30 to 44 miles per hour says creatures eagle-sized and below cannot fly.
Wow.
All right. So 45 to 59, it says man-sized creatures cannot fly.
Yeah. If you take a real, meaning if you have a wind that is 10 miles an hour, that's 15 feet a second. That's 88 feet per round. That, and if you go literally, meaning a creature that try to fly, have to fight winds that are 80 feet per round just to stay. So you need an 80 feet per round movement rate just to stay in one place if you're in the air. And that is ridiculous. There's hardly, meaning almost if there is a 20 mile or 25 mile an hour wind, which is like a moderate light wind, that will ground almost every creature in all of the monster books. Because
at 60 miles per hour and above, it says no creatures can fly except those from the elemental plane of air.
Right.
Yeah. That to me, it's not too bad, so to speak.
Here's the footnote to end it here. It says the use of potion of gaseous form, which you were talking about earlier, during high winds, more than 35 miles per hour, may cause dispersion of the gas to such an extent the creature cannot reform.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's
That's
what
what a
I
gust
have.
of wind spell does to
Yeah.
gaseous form.
Yeah, and I have
Yeah.
it that
Yeah.
if you're gaseous form, you blow with the wind. You just disappear with the wind, and you have to fight it. And
Yeah.
most gaseous
And you
creatures
got
don't
no
have it.
sexual
Yeah.
topics on here. I'm tired, everyone. Yes, I made a laugh on that one. Oh my god! So, it's a really cool thought on that you can get really like disturbing, and usually they're
Yeah.
like, especially in mountain, like because Aarakocra come from mountain. The Lort mills,
Yeah.
they're Aarakocra.
Yeah.
They're on the
Yeah.
encounter charts.
It's
That
going to be
makes
windy
sense.
up there in the mountains.
Yeah.
True.
But it makes sense that flying creatures come from the mountains, because if you have vertical environment, flying is even more beneficial than if you live on flat ground. So it makes sense that to be a flyer if you're up in the mountains.
See, 491 Phantom just said that Aasimar, which is like the angelic / the opposite of a tiefling. If their flying is the same as walking rate, that's really slow.
It seems that way.
It's
Yeah.
like a hover.
Yeah, someone put together a list on most of
Yes.
the common 5e
Assassin
flying
bug. Oh my
creatures,
God, Troy,
and
what a
it's
good one.
interesting. The highest flying rate is the Solar with 150 feet per round,
Nice.
which is kind of weird. And then the second one fastest is the Planetar, and then they start to pounce in around 190 or 100.
It's
But
almost like just self-willed. They're not really flying. They're just like mentally.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Rock
Yeah,
is the fastest natural flyer in that list with 120. That makes kind of sense in some ways. Yeah. But also, and another thing we have to remember when we talk about these flying speeds, that is the speed, the way I calculate it, that's the speed where you can maintain altitude. That's the rate, the powered flight, so to speak, how fast you can power yourself forward without losing elevation. So if you dive, you can go normally twice as fast, so to speak, because all of a sudden you have gravity helps you, so to speak. So if you start losing elevation, then you can go. Most creatures, I have it that almost all flying creatures can go at least twice their movement rate, and then they can dash as well. So that means that if you go forward during a round, they can fly twice their flying speed effectively, because if they just do flying and do nothing else. Yeah, and then if they dive, they can go 4 times or 3 to 4 times their flying speed. And now we're starting to get realistic speeds, which means that they can effectively at least stay in the air when it's a little bit windy.
I'm just getting these out while I remember for the giveaway.
We have to remember that a hurricane is 500 feet per round. That's hurricane speed winds. Yeah, I put it down to 250, so I halved it, so to speak. So that means that critters that have more than 150, 160 in movement, they can theoretically stay aloft but then you get turbulence and stuff in too. So you need maneuverability as well as speed in order to stay and to be maneuverable. So maybe a few of the biggest dragons and that are really, really good, not only the biggest, but the best flying dragons, rocks, and a few other things, they might be able to stay aloft in a hurricane. They might not be able to go against the wind effectively, but at least they can stay in the air and get out of the area in a hurricane. But almost every other flying creature will be grounded long before you reach hurricane level winds.
All right. A campaign question.
Yep.
I have 6 different elementalists: air, earth, fire, water, quasi, which is lightning and radiance, and then para, which is all the crap that doesn't fit anywhere, salt, ooze, Which of the 6 is the least played player character?
Oh, that's a good one.
Which do you think it is?
Earth Elementalist.
That's one of the most.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was boring.
Obvious, it's air.
It's air.
Is it? Oh, yeah. I thought that was cool with an air.
Exactly. The things they get are really cool, and I can't figure out. I know why. They're like, well, what kind of spells damage in air? It's like, you got to think outside the box on this, man. Because so there's a yeah, air's the one, and there's a spell called Pander's Whirlwind Travel, which actually creates a tornado whirlwind that's safe. You can put your entire party in it. You can travel in the whirlwind to your location. I mean, there's really cool things, and I'm always saying Alan's got the only one in the entire campaign. It's a PC. Out of all these years, I just found that interesting. But Earth's the second. Earth's
but I will
very
be
popular.
way more worried to put an air elementalist in my campaign as a PC than an air Kokra, because once you get PCs that can control weather, I would have it as way more of campaign disruption than be able to fly. Way more of a disruptor, because that's powers that are earthquakes, meteors, and controlling the weather are powers that are, in my opinion, they should be almost godlike.
But most druids get a lot of that.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's why they're really, really, those are disruptive, because they can affect the whole battlefield miles around, theoretically. Or you can make them like micro weather, that like a little rain cloud over one little area. But I wouldn't call control weather. That's like generating a little figment of weather.
Give me 1 second here, and let me bring this up if I can find it. Because I'm in I'm in a mental state right now. I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Let me just type the word air in and see what comes up. Here we go. Air spells. Okay. That's wrong. That's wrong. Air spell descriptions. Okay. Yeah, I always thought, and thank you there, Baker, for doing that. Okay. Of course, it's on 4 pages, so you can't see shit. Stupid thing. Is that layout? How do I change it from 4 to 1? It's down in the corner here, isn't it?
I
Display
think so.
settings?
Down right. If you use Adobe Acrobat.
No, actually, I didn't switch it to Acrobat. Oh well. Forget it. I was just going to throw out some of this. Some great. There's magic mist spells, magic smoke spells, tornado. Just great things. Oh, there's a fog giant manifestation spell. There's a lot of really cool things you can throw out there as an air elementalist. So I have gone mental, man. I am just question. I know Gary loves the wing folk, the Alcarakilam. Are these, Sam? Are these fanon canon now? And Gary's placed them, or are they not official in Greyhawk at all? You say no. I want to know, because I used them this is first edition, right? This came from Dragon 51. The wing folk, and we used a couple of them also. Fog Cloud's a great spell. I agree. Fog Cloud is a real good spell, Amy. It is very good.
I know nothing about those. Aarakocra, I know because they're in encounter charts. This I don't know anything about.
And Aarakocra are also big in 3rd edition. They got a lot of description and attention.
They started in 1st though. Gabriel says one of my players have one of my. How's it go with that, Gabriel? I'm just curious. I know Gary likes them a lot, so I was curious if I think he once told me that they kind of coexist with the Aarakocra. I would prefer not to use them, but I think they were canonized in 2E. Okay. They were canonized in 2E. All right. I
don't know how.
Yeah.
Planescape.
Yeah, and Planescape. That makes sense. Okay. There you go.
Along with Tieflings.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the Hawk people.
Aarakocra got canonized in the D&D movie.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. True. Yeah, so Gabriel says he has one currently active. I had, did I have one player character? I think I had one player character and one NPC, and it has to go back to the late 80s. I used them. And they're in the Monster Manual too. And what edition? The player is a thief and must use his invisibility to fly. There you go. And there's also a lot of fake creatures that can fly around.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Pixies?
But I would put them in a lot of more like magic flying. They have little wings that waves around, but that's more like a way of signaling. I had them as flying like imps and a lot of other things do. They're really good at flying where they come from, but on the prime material planes, some of them might not fly at all, so to speak. They just transport themselves magically through the air or something like that.
Okay.
Like beholders and others do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sparkled more than beholders do.
All right. Give us, and the audience, you're going to help. And I know some people told me this over the weekend, and my brain went off. But there are floating places. There are, right, in Greyhawk. There are places in the air in Greyhawk.
Kind of.
There's one on the map. Someone told me there's one on Darlene's map.
Yeah, there are some
Okay.
things here and there. If I
Darlene's
can remember, I should have put that in.
Yeah. I think David Leonard told me about one. Floating City of the Sakut. Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
Castles of the Cloud Giants. Yep. That's in Geoff.
Yeah.
Floating City of Sakut is in Geoff. Is that in the Against the Giants, though, the reprint? I mean, the Cloud Giant home and Against the Giants. Yep. That they go to. That's it. The Cloud Giant home and Against the Giants. Yes. Did you have that, Mike? Yeah.
Yes.
Want to talk about it? Go for it.
It's a bunch of cloud giant castles all connected together by bridges, like 8 of them. And the Sakut are actually young cloud giants who rebelled from their elders and went east and to cause trouble. They think they're better than their elders. So that's the gist of that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, one cloud giant castle is pretty impressive, but several of them, in one spot that's like a country, a floating country.
Does Valmoku and anyone else, can you destroy it? Does it crash to the ground or something and destroy stuff at the end of that adventure? I haven't read through that at the end. No.
Doubt it.
Okay,
I think the point is to convince them to go home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it could happen, but it would take like wish spells and things to crash.
Well, I was just curious if that was, All right, so another one is Dark Clouds Gather, the UK module. What are those things? They look like flying wolf men or something, right? And then there's a flying owlbear in one of them too. I think it's in that one too. There's a lot of flying creatures in that adventure.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool, Amy. I didn't know. So, but yeah, I know Dark Clouds Gather has a lot of flying creatures running around in it. Flying owlbear is in. There's a flying owlbear in Axe of the Dwarvish Lords too. Yeah, I had one of Alan's characters permanently got killed. She was a monk. A flying owlbear decapitated her with a bite. It was poetic. Sam mentioned the glass city of the Lendor Isle in case it got missed. Where is that mentioned? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Let me try that one.
Okay,
that's in Living Greyhawk Gazetteer.
Okay.
There is the Gate of Glass was created by the Archmage Lendor as like an escape route for his Sewell friends if a final calamity happened. So it is the worst case scenario escape for them. So when the elves started to take over, they all fled through this portal, and it's supposed to go to a city of glass, some place in the sky, which we have no other information on that I can find. The elves shut down the portal, but a bunch of the people got through. And in the rumors and whispers in that entry for the Lendor Isles, it says that there's some kind of human resistance going on. I don't know how the humans are coming down from their flying city of glass to mess with the elves, but there's some kind of resistance going on, it says.
I want to know who wrote up that shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that a sergeant?
No, it's the LGG.
Oh God, then it might even worse.
Greyhawk ever did anything with it? My guess is no.
Falcon is definitely written detailed in the event articles. There's a picture of him flying around with his bow shooting. It's a strange deity, and I have especially Priest of Falcon written up. Absolutely. Yep. They can only
Now-
fight with daggers in melee. Yep.
Now the Cloud Islands of the Sakut are cool and all, but they don't hold a candle to the Cloud Giants that are in, let's see here, Dungeon 93, Stormlord's Keep.
That's a great adventure.
That adventure is set in almost the exact same spot, I would say, the Sakut are at. So
Right.
whoever wrote that is probably had the same idea or was thinking.
I ran that. I know I did.
And rather than a chain of Cloud Islands, the Stormlord
Good one, Mike.
has it's like a cumulonimbus cloud. It says it's 6 miles tall. And so your players are having to fight your way up this very tall cloud. And this is an epic adventure. It was written with the epic level handbook in mind back in 3rd edition. So you have to be like 21st level or above to do this adventure. So yeah, the Stormlord can make the Sakut look like children.
We have a question whether it's Karlstrand or Rel Devon. I think Rel Devon is the one that had the special gardens.
I gotta find that.
They had some blue stones that were up in the air
Risk.
too. They even was even a cult that was worshipping the blue stones, and no one knows what those blue things were actually for and stuff. So, yeah.
Huh.
Now, while we're talking about flying places and objects, there is another one in Niv the Undying, and it's Spinning Cloud. I know someone mentioned that in one of our chats the other night.
Yes, that was it. That was the one.
Yep, and that's in Delgalath's land, Rin Larue, near there. And it's a stone keep 200 feet up in the air that belongs to an air elementalist.
Oh wow.
But he has not been seen. The air elementalist has not been seen for 5 years. So the place is empty. If you can get up there, you can loot it. If you can fight off all the air elemental guards.
Where's that again? I'm sorry, Mike.
This would be North Province-ish area, like south of Ridlaroo, I think.
Okay, so it's not
somewhere
far
in
from
that
the
area.
Dale where Dale adventures. So.
Yeah, and it's called Spinning Cloud.
Is that on the map?
It would be on
yeah.
It would be on the Ivid the Undying map.
So it should be on Anna's too.
Yeah, but I don't take things that move around. I skip them for the
Okay.
most
I
part.
don't think it moves around, Anna. I think it's
Oh, okay.
stationary.
Then if it's
And it has,
stationary,
like-
I need to put it down there. Spinning
It
cloud.
says it
yeah.
has a permanent reverse gravity on it, and it has a permanent white cloud that envelops it and
And it's
hides it.
in Rinloru.
It's near there.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, Antiquos, yeah, the city of Brass is often reference to Greyhawk, and it floats. Sarabalar, city of Brass, Necromancer, city of Brass, and Al-Qadim. Yeah, I mean, that floats. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's a good one,
Floats
too.
on lava. What?
No, I think that it tends to, a lot of people say that floats in the sky, doesn't it?
Well,
It's the Jinn. It's the homeworld of the
I
Jinn,
would have
right?
never. The city of Brass, I thought was the Ifrit.
Well, the Ifrit is a type of Jinn, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, that Mike, good work on those. Does anyone else have a place that they've used in an adventure, or that you placed in Greyhawk that's floating? I don't know if I have this on here. I'm looking for one. I probably don't have it. There was and I want to say it is an old Goodman Games one called Assault on Stormbringer Castle, and I think it was I'm almost positive it was floating, and but it was a storm giant's lair that was floating. So
We have a classic D&D illustration with a bunch of red dragons that fly around an enormous stone floating in the air with a castle on top. It's from Forgotten Realms somewhere, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
That's a
it's one of the
metaphor.
most iconic D&D images ever made. I think it's a Parkinson that made it, I think. And it's kind of, I know it's not Greyhawk, but I was kind of curious if anyone knows where that belongs. It might
Well,
be a
we
question
can
for
ask
Ed.
Ed the next time we have him on. How
Yep,
build Judges
yep.
Guild module to
Yeah,
Storm
because I
Giant's
think it's
Castle.
a Forgotten Realms location.
Dragonlance?
Or maybe it's Dragonlance. Okay. Oh,
Oh.
Dragonlance. Thank you. Yep.
It's Dragonlance. Okay, hold on. It says spinning.
Oh, Spinning Cloud is on my map. Okay, thank you.
Let me bring it
Yep.
up. That didn't sound right.
Let's see
Give me
here.
a second here.
So the Spinning Cloud is on my map.
It is on
Okay.
All right, one sec here. Order.
Just very well discussed.
Well, it's not particularly close to Rinlori, though.
Oh.
That's where I
Well,
looked.
in Rich's campaign that I'm in, we just recently finished running around in a cloud giant castle.
All right, where is it on this? Oh, it would help if I
Yeah,
showed.
where is it? Yep, I need to. I maybe I have to
I
find
thought
the
it was
list
close to
of it.
Rinlaroo, but it's in that same domain.
Here's North
It's
Province.
It's in Delglath's domain, so it'd be east of North Province.
All right.
East of North Province. That's out
Yeah.
there.
Oh, here's Rinloru.
Yeah. Arland's Castle.
I see it.
Winefla.
I see it.
Oh, you see
There
it?
you go.
There it is.
Oh, see that? I should have seen that one. Yeah.
And yeah, there you go.
Cool.
It's even white symbol because it is in the air. So
Yeah.
I got it right. I forgot about it, but I put it on the map.
Well
So,
done.
okay,
Awesome.
there you go. Awesome. Yep.
It's not the only documented air a place that anyone knows of on Anna's map. I want to ask that
think
question.
so. I think so because I don't think I used the white color on hardly anything else on the public map.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used a couple of dragon layers
cool.
that are silver dragon layers that are in the clouds and too, but they are not, haven't made it into the public map.
Unless Anna has some of them cloud giants places marked on her map, but I don't even think they're marked on this
No,
map.
I don't think so.
specifically.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because
I would've-
those would.
I would have recalled seeing them over here, but there's none of that
Yeah.
stuff. So, in that area where you would have this adventuring up here, you just don't see it. Like you'd have stuff around Sterich, right? And there's some stuff up here that is interesting, but I don't see any of those. Everything by Huso is gold. I chatted with him last night. He's very responsive. Oh, that's great, Greg. That's cool. Alrighty. I was just looking through. So, what do you all think, whatever edition you play, about the power of a druid that can shape change into a flying creature?
I have no big problem with that, but I have less problem with flying creatures overall, so to speak.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have too much issues with that.
I have been fortunate, and not many of my players have ever played shape changers because of the maintenance of keeping track of different forms.
Okay.
Is
Yep.
for a
That
table game, it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, since I limit my druids to what they can do too, so they will choose them more carefully. But I've had druids who've been able to turn themselves into hawks or eagles and stuff. So, and they will be great at reconnaissance, but not much else. But really good at reconnaissance. Yeah. But you also have to remember that even up in the air, you see things really well that are straight beneath you. But you don't see things at a distance good unless they're out in the open, so to speak. Forests block and buildings block aerial surveillance really well, except from straight up. Meaning if you stand in a street, in a village or a town, you will be visible to a dragon that is on top of you, but one that is a couple of miles away would not see you. But if you're out in the open, the dragon will probably see you 10 miles away, 20 miles away, because they might have eyes like an eagle, literally, so to speak. They can see things at a distance. They have telescopic vision. They can zoom in and recognize things at huge distances. Because one of the things that I think is characteristics for most, at least natural flyers, is that they have very good vision, because they have to, in order to avoid kind of colliding with things, avoid predators or finding prey. And because we were landlocked creatures or landlubbers, when we go flying, we are scared of falling down. But creatures that are natural flyers, they are probably not particularly scared of falling out of the sky. That's not the big thing for a flyer, but it's colliding with things. That's what you're scared of, so to speak. So that's the scary bit, not falling out of the sky. That's just an instinct we have because we are scared of falling off something and falling down. But flyers are probably way more scared of colliding with things. So that's where the angst would be. So that's why I think weather, like Amy had a perfect example of fog cloud. That is a really good spell to limit visibility for flyers. Is a really, really good weapon against them, so to speak, because flyers who can't see, they will never go where they can't see. And that's why silver dragons and some other dragons are real nasty, because they can see through clouds and smoke and stuff. And that means that they are really nasty, because they can go in through that and still attack you. And also a lot of other fly-like dragons have blind sense, which can be really cool if it's at a distance enough, so to speak. Because that can work, and they can hit you even among trees and stuff if it's an opening. But I can also see that a green dragon, for instance, that's probably why they have chlorine. They can kill off vegetation around their lair, so they have maneuverability where they want to hunt, so to speak. So they will probably not let, because forest is probably one of the best defenses or way to stay safe from dragons, is to stay under the cover of trees. So that's why even red dragons, most dragons will probably get rid of every tree within a few miles around their lair, just to make sure that there's as little cover as possible. Both they can see the enemy come in and they can attack at will, so to speak, or without having problems with little critters escaping in under trees and stuff.
It's cool. I know I'm missing something.
Yeah, and blind sense is also one of these things that you have to be tricky what you can see. I have it more like an ethereal vision. You can see things that are material in a ways, in a sense. But yeah, you have to kind of come up with how you use it, so to speak, and what can hinder it, so to speak. And because there are can illusions, will that work against a blind sense? So you can fool them by illusionary objects that might trigger them or confuse them or something like that would too. So illusions might work really well against flyers. Just an illusionary net, wiring, whatever, trees. Illusionary forest might work to fool at least dumb, not particularly smart aerial hunters might be fooled by illusionary forests or something similar.
Well, that mass morph, that is a nasty original first level spell where you can turn almost an entire army into trees.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. It's a crazy spell. I use it all the time on my.
Forgot all about that spell.
Oh, it's so good because there's no save on it. You can't even disbelieve it. So, yeah, it's really a nasty spell.
That's one of these things. Illusions need a little bit more careful managing in that sense. First edition has a lot of like, this is the way it is, and there's no way around it. It can't be disbelieved. It just is, so to speak. I don't like that. I like when there is like odds to things. Really smart creature or powerful creature should be able to see through a meager illusion done by a fledgling little wizard or illusionist that barely knows how to spell yet, so to speak.
I'm not a fit. All right, so like aerial combat, I really do it, right? But then I feel bad when I have my flying creatures act dumb and they attack stuff on the ground, right? Because it's just one of those. It's one of those feelings, you know. You understand what I'm saying? What you get.
Yeah, you want them in the action, and then you want them in manageable and yeah, because movement is life for a flying creature. is sometimes literally, because a lot of them can't fly. Just like they have a top speed, a lot of them have a lowest speed too. If they go lower than that, they will stall, so to speak, and they can't maneuver. And some of them they can go all the way down to a hover, meaning a hummingbird doesn't need to go anywhere. You can just stand still in air and go in every direction. That's kind of the example of perfect flight. But take a duck, for instance, or a swan or something. If they go down, if they go below 15, 20 miles an hour, they they literally start falling out of the sky, and they have to start tramping water. And just see them when they land, and you see they have to go. So you can have the whole range of clumsy flyers that need to go really fast in order to stay aloft, and to flyers that can easily hover and go in any direction.
Yeah, birds of prey do that in real life, but they have to see the. Yeah, there's a lot of like. It's not like BattleTech. You don't movement rate does not affect in the rules does not affect the missile combat adjustment, which maybe it should, but it doesn't. So Dragon's full of swings the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually have it that in order to hit an aerial creature like a dragon or something that comes at you, you have to ready, because otherwise it will be gone when you hit it. You have to ready and then shoot as on the incoming, so to speak. So you can shoot, and you get one chance at shooting at it, then it's gone, so to speak. So you can, and if it goes really, really fast, I will have that you can hit one attack head on, and the next one you will get on the way out, so to speak, and that means that you will have disadvantage on it. Especially if you're talking things that have movement rates of 200 or 250 or something like that, 300 even. That means that they are way out there, and then they disappear, meaning they have like 150 miles an hour or something like that in speed, 200 miles an hour. Like the speed of a diving falcon, like a peregrine falcon, can reach well over 200 miles an hour. I think maybe up to close to 300. Yeah.
Yeah, I know wing buffet attacks were in the best of the 3 dragon articles. Has anyone ever been struck by dragon poop flying out of the sky?
Patrick, I love that. That is a wonderful comment. Dragon poop. Yes, I've used dragon poop once. That I had a dragon who just wanted to protest a little bit and just pooped at the party from and used it to make them smelly. Yep, dragon poop and dragon pee. Yep.
Who has in the audience used, and I know they're Forgotten Realms. Most people associated with Baldur's Gate 2, used the Kobold Commandos flying on their bat mounts, dropping stuff on people.
You mean like big doom bats or these big bats?
Yeah, they have giant bats, and then the Kobold Commandos are on top of them. Your GM used them on you? Yeah, there you go. It sucked, yeah, because they're throwing down little, alchemical fires. They got all special arrows. Yeah. Oh, Les. I know Les loves the Kobold Commandos. Absolutely.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
I did 2 fundraisers ago. I used the Kobold Commandos. It's the one with the half dragon, Troy, that Bill painted for me. She had a whole bunch of Kobold Commandos on her side. Yeah. He uses goblins on bats, though. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually had someone there orb get killed by dung once, because Lossels, I know we're getting off track here, but Lossels, a half baboon, half orc, just like regular monkeys like to throw their crap at people. Well, it threw a hard piece of its crap at one of Bill's characters' critical hit. It was like in the chest that killed him. It was to hit that right spot.
Oh.
Yeah, so we've had someone killed by flying feces.
Wow.
Yes.
Dung and dragons. That's awesome.
Dung and dragons. If you have any, throw it. Yeah. Always throw it. Yeah. It's a funny critical hit. I was going to say it was like, I won't equate it to real life, but it was like Chris Pronger who got hit with that puck when he dropped. You remember that, don't you, Mike? Yeah, it basically stopped his heart, so isn't back done with the greens for fireball. Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely. So, but I just like the Kobold Commandos. I didn't realize that Les used them as goblins. That's pretty cool. That's a neat idea.
Yep.
All right, so some other things that are outside the flying area. The picture below me, as you can see right now, I always want to remind people that this is a cool. You may see this a little bit on Saturday night special All-Star game. That's a Swan May beneath me, and the Swan Mays, once they get into that group, they get a little token, and it allows them to magically turn into a flying swan, which is magic resistant and plus one of better weapons to hit. So it's an all-female group.
Clumsy flyers, though.
Yeah.
Swans need if they're going to take off, you need like 60 to 100 feet of a straight, so they can, because they need to run up their speed. And that's another thing. Flying creatures don't accelerate as fast as running creatures do. So they need, in order to move up to full speed, they need at least 2 actions, usually 3, or a dragon might need 4 rounds before they're up to full flying speed, so to speak, because that it takes a while. Meaning wings don't give you. I would give a dragon, if they are on the ground, I would give them the first round they can move to full running speed, and then get up to flying speed after that, so to speak. But they don't instantly just magically transport themselves up to 120 feet per round in one round, so to speak.
Darn Anna flying physics, just ruining my immersion there.
Yeah, but then we have the maneuverability, meaning how much space do they need in order to do a U-turn? And that's something that 3rd edition had tons of rules.
I never mess with that. That's just too much.
Yeah, I usually have it that the way I've done my rule of thumb, so to speak, is that you take their listed flying speed, and then you take 4 times that in squares, so to speak. So you have, and small creatures, they don't take a full square, so you multiply by 0. So that means that tiny flyers, they can almost always turn around in 1 square, so to speak, like hummingbirds and tiny little sprites and pixies and like a Barbie size little things and stuff. They can, and sturges and other small tiny things, they can maneuver within a square and don't need a turning radius at all. But a big dragon, even when they don't go too fast, they need 100 feet to make a U-turn. Otherwise they will, that's what they need. And fast flying dragons might need 150, 200 feet to make a U-turn if they go at full speed. And if they go at twice the speed, you're talking 400 feet to go around. So that's something to think of, especially if you have them flying indoors. That's where you have it. They will probably not fly that fast unless they know the direction they're going, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's where the flying creatures are, again, I don't think a dragon is not particularly scared of falling out of the sky, but he's scared of hitting things like trees and castle thingies and various stuff that pokes out and so on. But falling out of the sky, because if you and that's the other interesting thing, is that dragons or flying creatures can stall in 2 different ways. You can stall because you're flying too slow, and you can stall because you're flying too fast. And those are 2 different things. If a creature is stalling because they're flying too slow, that's usually not much of a problem. You can just start flapping your wings and orient yourself in the right direction, and you come out of it, so to speak. You will only fall a little bit at slow speed, and that is not a big thing. But if you stall due to high speed, then you can cause structural damage, you can break wings, you can cause all sorts of stuff if you overspeed and you lose your maneuverability and stuff. That is more dangerous for a critter. So falling, meaning even a dragon that starts falling, it can just start flapping its wings, and it will also be very unaerodynamic, meaning it will not fall as quickly as a human being that is thrown off a cliff or something. So a lot of flying creatures don't take falling damage the same way that humans and others, humanoids would do.
So one of the most painful early things I remember about the jumbled Dungeon Master's Guide, which stuff was everywhere, right? It's hard to is them trying to describe the air maneuverability classes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's just too much.
But you don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to. I think you should be more kind of more story driven than mechanics driven when it comes to stuff like that. you should kind of try to be descriptive
It's the same
and
reason
make
I avoid hard nautical
yeah.
rules.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what usually happens is that the most aerial combat that I've had in my campaign have been the party throwing spells or throwing or trying to lob arrows and spears and stuff at flying creatures or defend themselves against them. And then occasionally they've been sitting on a dragon's back or something similar, or jumped from a high cliff or something and used a featherfall. And featherfall is a nasty spell from a defensive perspective, because then you're a sitting duck. If you have a flying creature that wants to eat you, featherfall is a gift to it, because then you're basically like hanging midair, and you will be a snack for a dragon or anyone to snatch you. They will have advantage. You're falling predictably slow towards the ground. And that is something you want to avoid. You have to cast it really close to the ground, but I don't know how fast it starts, if it instantly breaks your speed or slowly. I don't know how that works. I haven't thought about it that much.
You know what else is a sitting duck?
Yeah.
Hot air balloons.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. They are.
I don't often talk about novels in Legends and Lore because I don't read many novels. At least I don't retain that information. But The Eyes Have It by Rose Estes has a hot air balloon in it.
Yep.
It's the most ridiculous hot air balloon ever. Apparently, if you haven't read it, it's real early on in the book, and this dwarf engineer has created some contraption, some hot air balloon that's pulled by eagles wearing harnesses.
Why would you need to pull a balloon?
I don't know.
Because if you want to go, if you want to go in any particular direction, you need to have some sort of
So.
pulling
Yeah.
mechanism, like an engine or a creature doing it. Otherwise, you would just go with the wind. That's the problem with these lighter than air craft.
Yeah. So I found that interesting. Yeah, hot air balloons would be, and there was a hot air balloon in Descent to Avernus, I think, which I played in 5e. Similar thing. It was kind
Not
of
dirigibles, just a hot air balloon.
I think it was just a hot air balloon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not Zeppelins, just a hot
you're
air
in hell, and all the creatures have wings, so that was a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because why don't they just pop it?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Avatar Last Airbender, they had coal furnaces with fans to control airflow. Interesting. Interesting. I said it early on, and I never went back to it. I said, don't ever be in an adventure. We're talking about levitate and featherfall or fly. You better have one of those three things in a Tim adventure, because he's going to bring a type 1, 2, or 3 demon in. They're going to grab you. They're going to teleport a mile up in the air, and they're going to let you go.
Yeah.
That's how Tim gets rid of people.
But you have a few rounds if you're that high. So
to do what?
Well, try to figure something out.
So, yes, always have one of those three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have like a rolled up flying carpet or something handy. Yeah.
Dwarves added spikes to keep them from popping the balloon. Interesting. Yeah, I know I'm a little giddy and goofy now, as it's
I think a black dragon with acid would be perfect on a flying balloon. Yeah.
I think any dragon would be perfect on a balloon. How about a lightning bolt? Just like the freaking Zeppelin going up, man, right? Boom. Yeah, that thing. Oh my gosh.
I can imagine a dragon just clinging onto it might be enough to cause a lot of problems.
Hey, Dale. Dale, we already talked about it in your area, man. We talked about what's it called? The spinning
cloud.
Spinning cloud. Yeah, we already talked about that. So, yeah, pretty cool though. It's on Anna's map. See you, Hager. Yeah. So yeah, we are on tomorrow night. By the way, 7:30. So Mystery of the Mansion, and then hopefully that's the right button. Yeah, there we go. Josh is the focal point of Saturday night too, if you can believe it. There was an ornithopter years ago, AC-11 Book of Wonders Inventions. So, if you ever played Magic early on, you had that ornithopter, which was 0 combat right?
Yeah.
In the Magic the Gathering, I used to put fire breathing on it to be annoying. Just make fire breathing flying ornithopters. Yeah,
Mm.
those were the days.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they actually put an ornithopter in there. That's I did not know. Book of Wonders. I always have tried to stay away from. That's not true. Technology here and there is okay in little bits and drabs.
Speaking of
That's what.
flying technology, this one's for Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone remember Dragon Magazine 277? Greyhawk 2000?
Oh yes, I
Oh.
remember that one. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh man, it has
Yep.
that jet in it. And
Mhm.
it's the I had to look this up because it'd been forever. The E98 Devil Raptor.
That's kind of
And
cool. So maybe I should have
it's a merging of magic and technology.
yeah. So that will be kind of fun. Maybe I should do a future Greyhawk scenario 2000 when and use like D20
man.
modern rules or something like that
Man. Yeah.
to run it. Yeah. There's a 5e version that I think Jeff Grubb worked on, D5e or D20 modern 5e style, I think. I think he talked about that when we had him on last. So yeah, maybe that could be a fun little campaign or an adventure or a one shot or something. So yeah.
Yeah, ornithopter just means a plane flies like a bird with flapping wings. True.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ornithopter. That's true. Ornithopter was in Da Vinci's drawings for anyone.
Yeah.
You're correct.
And
Yeah,
nowadays there are actually functioning ornithopters. They haven't gone to the scale of enough to carry a human really successfully yet, but on smaller scales they work really, really well. So we are starting to get closer to the problem is to have a wing that is malleable like birds and natural wings are, and we haven't. Meaning hydraulics is clunky and weighty and stuff. So you have to either use wires and some other stuff, but artificial muscles are coming. So when we can scale that up, we might get, because that's one of the things, natural flyers can adapt their wings and tweak them to whatever is needed at that instant. That's something that mechanical flight like planes and helicopters and stuff can't do that very well, and that means that natural flyers like birds and others, bats and stuff, they have a huge advantage. And that's why I think even dragons could be fairly well adapted flyers or fly well, because they can do that. They will be like big bats in that sense. They could because they have bat-like wings and stuff.
Right.
So
a dragon flying question.
Yep.
Is it more practical for them to be wyvern-like with the hands in the wings, or the hands separate, like like you see it?
That depends on. Yeah, I think naturally we only very few all mammals and reptiles are four-legged. That's why they have wings and not four legs and wings, so to speak, because we don't six-legged is only insects and stuff. And look at insects, they are six-legged and have wings. And so meaning if we had a pattern of six, like 4 arms and 2 legs on mammals and reptiles and stuff, then we might very well have dragons, this stuff. But it depends on, I think, if you're a true aerial creature, meaning if dragons that live and feed like albatrosses, they go out and hunt, for instance, and live on the wing constantly, they will probably become like flying T-Rexes. They will lose their front limbs because they will probably not need them. That will just be a nuisance. There will be extra weight and cause drag and stuff. So they will probably lose them. So wyverns might be more aerial than dragons. But if you want to be able to hold on to big prey, you want to be more effective at close quarter combat, you want to manipulate stuff, then to have 4 limbs is probably a huge advantage. Meaning if you want to have a close-up fight, meaning imagine if eagles had 4 arms, they could grab prey much more effective and so on and fight close. So it depends. But I think in our world, long before we got flying creatures, we had kind of evolved away. But you see, insects and stuff, they kept their legs. They didn't lose all of them just because they started flying. So yeah.
just because in fantasy it goes all different directions. Because
Yeah.
birds don't have, and the pterodactyl had them on the edge of the
Exactly.
hands of the wings, and they disappeared. So
yeah, because they were four-legged creatures long before they
Right.
became, that pattern was already in the design, so to speak, when they took to the air. So that's why all flying mammals and flying reptiles and so on, and dinosaurs and stuff were four-legged when they acquired flight. So yeah.
Okay. Just a question.
Yeah. But I think it's cool that we have different dragons, like dragons that don't have any forelimbs, like wyverns and stuff, and then we have what I would call true dragons or worms that have paws in the front for front legs too. Yeah, because if you fold them in, they're not too much of a hindrance, so to speak. So and 6 limbs. There are lots of other types of creatures who have 6 limbs in nature. So it's just that on Earth they got discarded as we moved up, but I don't think it's necessarily have to be that way. But someone who knows more about biology and evolution might be able to correct me and say that no, it's a big thing. But now I can imagine bigger creatures having more too. I guess it also depends on gravity. But we assume that in Greyhawk the gravity is kind of natural, or at least fairly natural, so to speak. But also
cool,
dragons. Another interesting thing, I think, when it comes to aerial campaigns and stuff, is the atmosphere thinning out in Greyhawk as it is in the real world, or is atmosphere the way to the plane of air, meaning you can fly much higher and the atmosphere is thick and oxygen rich and all that, breathable even high up? That's another thing, meaning do dragons and other creatures, do they routinely fly really high up? Is there like an aerial ecosystem of flying things up there really, really high that hunt and live and stuff on the wing really high up? Or is it like in the real world that flying more than a few thousand feet is not good because then you start losing oxygen and the air becomes thinner, so the wings don't work that well and stuff? That's one of the things that if you want to, you can kind of say, no, there are gates to openings to the plane of air, so you can go really high, you can go miles up, and you can build a cloud castle up there and cool stuff. So meaning from a fantasy perspective, I can see interesting possibilities in both. So there might be different limitations and different openings for aerial campaigns that we wouldn't have on Earth, so to speak. But in a fantasy world, you might have it.
There's a lot of leeway and options to do aerial combat and to have there's a lot of flying monsters and there's a lot of flying mounts, but it's not something you see every day. You really don't. And I'm thinking, maybe I should do a high level one coming up or something and see and play test and see how it goes.
And another thing, when it comes to flying high, when almost all natural creatures that do natural flight in the real world that fly high, they don't do it by their own accord. There are no birds that flap their wings in order to go really high or fly really long. They use natural racing currents like thermals or waves or updrafts along cliffs and mountains and stuff in order to go high and stay aloft really long, because they take so much energy to fly that it will be a complete waste. There are a few birds that are exception, the one that flies over mountain ranges and stuff, but even they wait for good weather in order to do it. They don't flap their wings to go 6,000 feet up and move away. And I've seen eagles and birds up to almost about 10,000 feet up in the air. So they can go high at times, but then they go using thermals, so to speak. I'm pretty sure they do it just for fun or for traveling long distance, because it's so high up that because eagles and hawks and those big birds of prey. They usually hunt things that are on the ground. So it will be kind of ridiculous to go that high because you're so far away from your food source. But I think they do it sometimes for fun, just because it's possible and they don't lose any energy. And that means that if they want to travel 100 miles to a new hunting ground, if there's a good thermal, they go up really high up and then they just glide for the rest of the day until they are where they want to go, so to speak. So there are, and that's the other cool thing. In a fantasy world, you might have weather that is even more powerful than we have in the real world. And you might even have magic induced weather. So you might have thermals that are stronger, and let's say red dragons might use a volcano that might cause an enormous updraft, and that might lift even a red worm up to enormous heights or stuff like that. Meaning you have that there are cool possibilities, and they might use weather like hurricanes and really strong storms, like albatrosses use the storms and the updraft along really high the wave ridges. And you can see that dragons who want to migrate, they might wait for the storm, and when the storm hit the mountain range, they go alongside the mountain range on a wave and for hundreds of miles, and then they kind of wait, and so you might see a few lazy dragons sitting there waiting for the wind to be right, so to speak, and then they come and fly. And maybe dragons migrate, or other big flyers might migrate either seasonally, or they might migrate over life. They might be born in one end of the world, and then they go out and seek mates and territory and prey over their lifetime, and then they might come back or migrate somewhere to die or something like that. There are cool seasonal or migratory things, because if you have the flying ability, you can migrate on across the world, so to speak. Meaning in the real world, we have things like terns and small birds that are only like a foot in wingspan that goes between the North and South Pole every year. Like they spend summer at the North Pole, and then when the season change, they go down to the South Pole and spend summer there, and then they go back up again. So they migrate like 6,000 miles every 6 months. And if you're a dragon or some a rock, for instance, or something like that, they might migrate, follow big herds of animals or whatever. So you might have a lot of cool stuff that might come certain times of the year. Might be lethally dangerous to go out in the grassland because you might get eaten, and the rest of the year you don't have to worry, or something. So there are interesting, fantastic possibilities for your campaign that you can do. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, Troy. Thank you for that link. All right. What do you guys think?
That was me going off on
It's
the
perfect. It's a good way to close things out here. Mike, what do you got? What would you like to say in closing for this discussion? Thank you for hanging in there, guys, both me being so late.
There was a lot more to talk about on aerial stuff than I realized.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. The only thing I probably left out when we were talking about Griffin riders earlier, Mordenkainen's Obsidian Citadel, he has 2 Griffin riding bodyguards up there, according to the I think it's the City of Greyhawk box set, one of them books.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So he has 2 Griffin riders in the Citadel, and it says Mordenkainen also can summon and ride a very old silver dragon. Like he doesn't have enough stuff already.
But he can't get Bigby Razor resurrected.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the air in Greyhawk.
Exclamation drawing, Elric. Exclamation drawing.
And I was definitely impressed with all the flying castles and things.
Yeah, it's more than you think. It's good that they're Mordenkainen the Quasi-Verity. Yes. So.
And if anyone knows more about the City of Glass,
yes. Gary,
let me know, because I think that's a plot hook that Sargent created that I don't know if it ever got followed up on.
Was it Sargent or was it Fred whining?
I think. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Fred.
I'm thinking of the other one. Yeah. Sargent was Spinning Cloud.
Spinning Cloud.
Fred was probably City Glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Anna, what do you got to say in closing?
I just say that you should look into flying as it can spice up a campaign. You should not. I don't think it's base a campaign on flying things, but you
Yeah.
should definitely add spice it into your campaign, both as a threat, a possibility for flavor, and in order to make the world more interesting.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna just tell you what's going on quick on the show, and then we'll zippity doo dah out of here. Does that sound good? All right, all right. So, tomorrow night, here's a picture. Narwhal Hunt Hunters, and this is what we're going to be doing. The name of the adventure is Mystery of the Mansion. So it'll be an interesting one, probably 2 weeks. Gamescape and Reaper giveaways tomorrow night, 7:30. Hopefully, I'll be home in time for that. Saturday night, special guest Tony Winslow Brittle joins the Slav Squad. Darling, Myriad, Mandy, Little Bird, Josh, Pop. He doesn't want me to put Zarathon in it anymore because he's arrogant. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But No Bone, she's in Boston. She's away for the weekend. But this will be a fun adventure. Josh's character, Carl Speckerleaf, is like the focal point of this adventure. It's called The Misbegotten. If you know where that comes from stuff that you may have just downloaded in the last couple months because of someone, then you'll get the idea behind that one. And that'll be on Saturday. And then I don't have a banner for Sunday because it was being discussed. So Anna, right now it's you and Will and probably Tim, and we're going to do plot hooks, quests, and magic items. All right.
Oh, cool.
For a mix.
Yeah.
But it is. I'll put this in post. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. Yep.
Uh-oh.
It is the cleanse special. What's that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. Earth Journal 27.
Amy
Awesome, Amy.
Okay.
Thank you. Very cool. It's called the Gavin 267, the Special Cleansing Edition. I have prepped for a colonoscopy that night.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be bad. I will. So Anna and Will and Tim will be taking away a lot of the discussion because I don't have it. It starts at like 4:00. It's gonna. I'm gonna be in and out. Sorry, but they're not gonna cancel the stream.
Is that a pun? In and out?
Yeah, out mostly. Yeah. It's brutal. So yeah. Amy, I know I've had this is my second one in my life, but I'm not looking forward to this.
Oh.
But it's Monday. I'm off from work Monday, but doing sports exactly. But I don't want to cancel the stream. But it's right in the middle of the prep for it.
Oh.
So yes, bust my. I will be the glutton of punishment for the jokes that night.
Yeah.
I'm opening myself up to it. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So the prep is the worst part. Yes. So that'll be going on all day Sunday. Yes. So joy for me. Okay. Let's do the giveaway, and the winner gets their choice of
check out Greyhawk. We have a new article up. It has nothing to do with aerial.
Oh,
stuff,
that's awesome.
But it's harkens back to a previous show we did on expressions.
Oh, that's great.
I finally did the all expressions, Anna.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes.
Come down from your saddle. I love that one.
Oh, that is wonderful. Thank
your God
you.
did not follow you here. Oh, that's a great one.
So
Mike,
good.
they're classics,
Wow.
man. Thank you for sharing that. That's an awesome one. All right, here we go. Let me close this out and see who wins this. Closing it out, the winner tonight is Keith. I know Keith logged off, but he told me, so he's good. I will get with Keith. RoGR. We did start late, so I'm not going to punish him for it. And I knew he had to depart, so I got him. I will get with him and take care of that. And we're going to raid into Sensei Suplex tonight just to change it up. How's that sound? And once again, thank you. Kid thing went for back to school night. Ran late, and we got out.
Post a link to my blog post
please.
I've made about flying rules and thoughts about flying in fantasy.
Oh, thank
games.
you,
So
Anna.
put
That's
it in
cool
there.
too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'll see you all tomorrow night, 7:30. I'll be drinking probably a lot of coffee by then. So I got about 6 hours of driving tomorrow.
Mm.
It's gonna be a blast. It's
Mm.
gonna be a fun day tomorrow. So
Mm.
yes, see everyone. Everyone enjoy. I know Curtis, you don't even need to
Right.
watch that game tomorrow night. They're gonna destroy the Giants tomorrow night. It's gonna be brutal. San Fran's gonna kill them. So yep. See you all, and stick around for the Raiden Sensei, and then
Right.
we'll see you soon. And thank you both.
Bye.
Yeah, I didn't want to cancel tonight. I really wanted to get this in. I'm glad we did. It was a good discussion.
Yeah.
You know, I'm babbling a lot here. I'm just.
No, that was good. That was you had a lot of cool
thank you.
monsters and stuff that I didn't think of right away. So
Yeah, well, we all have
Yeah.
pieces that
Yeah.
brought to the table here. So.
You really
Oh,
missed
good.
the half hour's worth of aerial puns that we.
Oh, well, that's
thrown
cool.
out there.
That's good to see. Sensei's got his West Marches style game going on. Yep. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow night. Make sure this went.
Yep. 50. So yeah, we lost
Yeah,
a few
that's
because
okay.
we started late, but that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. With that, I'm crashing. So
Alrighty.
shut this off. I hope you have
Yep.
a good evening. Thank you so very
Yeah,
much,
you too.